This is going to be exciting.
And the guy starts up to go. Green flag is out and we're underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. So what he says here. Oh, they're going through wide.
We've got a five-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go. He's gonna win it here in spectacular fashion.
Welcome, Goat Locker race fans, to the midway point of our Season 9 schedule. It's Week 7, and that is going to bring us to a track to test the skills of these SAVE22 Truck Series drivers. That's right, everybody. We're turning right tonight at Lime Rock Park. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside the broadcast booth. Once more, I'm Logan Threlkeld, and joining me tonight, as always, is Sky Shrek as our co-commentator, and Eddie Smith behind the scenes working the controls as our producer. Sky, this is the only road course this season. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about Lime Rock and what we might expect tonight from these drivers?
Yeah, we're racing tonight at Lime Rock Park. This is a very famous, very historical track. ARCA's raced here forever. The Truck Series is going to race here in real life this year. It's 1.53 miles located in Lakeville, Connecticut. A little bit of elevation change, about 40 feet. Most of it's going to be in that uphill turn 5. It was opened all the way back in 1957, and it has been in the same configuration since when it opened all the way back then. So almost 70 years now, drivers have been driving the exact same track. It's the country's third oldest continuously operating road racing venue. It's going to be a great venue here tonight.
It most certainly will, and as you have the track info on the screen, you saw there's one left-hand corner, turn number 3, rightfully named the left-hander. Aside from that, turns 1 and 2 will be the Big Bend, turn 4, right-hander, then to turn number 5, the uphill, where we will see some of these trucks get a little bit of air underneath that front right tire. It'll take quite a bit to settle that back down. But now, looking at our Season 9 standings, Jake Ham with 3 wins on the season, collecting that 3rd one last week. Jeremy Gardner, Patrick Drabick, Levi McCarty all locked into the playoffs with 1 win as well. Jacob Ellingson with a plus 27 on the cut line, sitting in a great spot going into these final races here of the regular season. Timothy Peters there right behind, Michael McCarthy, Michael Kostick, Mike Browning, Craig Bontrager, George Jewell, and Steve McDonald, all above that cut line, but it's close back there towards the back. Tonight will be a deciding factor in who makes it to the playoffs in just a few short weeks. Looks like our drivers are starting to grid, however. We'll get to that grid here, get our stats up on the night, see who's got our pole. That's going to be the 46 of Timothy Peters with a 52.368, setting our Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award for Lime Rock Park. The 07 of Patrick Drabick right next to him, about 0.3 of a second back, 52.694. Levi McCarty in the 24 will take the third starting spot with a 52.712 next to the 4 of Mike Browning, the 52.728. Jeremy Gardner, the Season 8 champion, will take the 5th starting spot with a 52.923 next to the 9 of Barrett Morton with a 52.957. We're finally out of the 52 range with Craig Bontrager in the 49 taking 7th at a 53.509 and Jacob Ellingson in the 27 at 53.523. Last but not least in our top 10 is the 85 of James Goshen next to the 15 of Jamie Barkas.
And the last 9 cars in your field tonight are going to start in 11th with Michael McCarthy in the 22, Brandon Wallace on his outside in the 99. 13th is going to be Stephen McDonald in the 68, James Kaufman 14th in the 25. Rolling off 15th, Jake Ham didn't set a quality time, but he was fast in practice. Watch out for him. David Duke 16th in the 78. George Jewell rolls off 17th in the 36. Michael Seymour 18th in the 37. And last car on the field tonight, 19th, will be Chuck Phelps in the 75.
Now, Sky, you had mentioned that ARCA and the Craftsman Truck Series will be here on June 28th, year 2025. For the first time in quite a while, the ARCA Menard Series has not ran here since 2010. And then the Craftsman Truck Series, this will be the first ever visit this year in real life. So we're going to get a little bit of a look at it tonight. Drivers with a slightly modified setup, as this truck hasn't been here, so they don't quite have the statistics that they need to set one up for Lime Rock Park. But I can tell you right now, it felt great in practice. A lot of these drivers able to put down some very good lap times. We'll see who has the momentum going into this race at 46 in a prime position to get out ahead and go early. He's going to have a lot of defense to play with the 07 of Patrick Dravick. Both drivers very consistent in the practice session. Sky, was there anything you noticed while these drivers were out there?
Well, yeah, obviously Jake Ham starting 15th, but he was second fastest in practice. One thing I noticed was that Timothy Peters ran a 52.055 in that practice session. That was 2.5 tenths quicker than any other car. Jake Ham ran a 52.3, and then you have to go even further back to find third place Craig Bontrager at a 52.6. That 46 car is a lot of speed, fastest car in both practice and qualifying by a pretty sizable amount. I think he's got a great chance to get his first win here tonight.
So the 2 sections to really keep an eye on in this race is going to be that turn number 5, that uphill right-hander, where you might see some action there. That suspension is going to get very unsettled coming over the crest of that hill. And then just a few corners later, after they get through turn 6, the downhill portion of being on top of this track, turn number 7. But we're green flag racing. Patrick Dravick, Timothy Peters, take it away. Dravick falling back to the 3rd position through the first 3 corners. Peters with a good gap already to 2nd place. That's the 24 of Levi McCarty.
Peters is already starting to get away. He's opened up a pretty sizable gap to the car back there in 2nd, that being Levi McCarty. You can see how quick that 46 is already. They're coming to the fastest part of the racetrack right now, almost flat through that bend. You just have to lift a little bit, no brakes required. Coming across the line, Timothy Peters has already opened up a 1.5 second gap to the 24 car.
So a great start for the 46 here. He's needed that start since the beginning of this season. A little bit further back, there was some side-by-side action. But as for now, it's very quick single file here through the first lap, and 1 corner is all it took. It'll be single file racing for majority of this until we start seeing some tire degradation. Be a challenge for these drivers to start getting used to the tire. Right now, that 46, and he went from a 2.5 on turn or on lap 1 to 2.5 seconds here to start lap 2. Will he get to the 3-second mark? Just shy, coming across that start-finish line for the 46.
Another thing that's going to be a little difficult here is passing, and it's because of how narrow this track is. You're seeing it from Timothy Peters onboard. This place is barely even 2 cars wide. Like, you can barely fit a truck side by side. So you've really got to coordinate your moves. You've got to time them out so you're able to make them, because it can be really easy to lose control and go off the track if you try to go too wide into a corner like this, where you're running right on the edge and there's not really space for 2 of y'all. Car around, 99.
99 and Brandon Wallace spins it around towards the back of the pack. Luckily, nobody collected in that single car spin. We'll take it back to the V-Speed instant replay here. Right there in turn number 3, spins it out in front of a couple drivers. Looks like the 27 of Ellingson, the 36 in there as well. Puts it back on the surface without causing any harm.
That can be a very tricky section of racetrack there with the weight shifting back from the right to the left. Very easy to send it around when you're trying to get back into that left-hand corner.
So you're talking about passing opportunities just a moment ago, Sky. The best one on the track being the start of turn number 1. Holding off on those brakes as long as possible. Try to get it to the inside of the driver you're challenging. Right now, our second place car, the 24, Levi McCarty, already coming up on some lap traffic here. We'll see how he's going to be able to handle this. 46 of Peters was able to get around rather safely. Not a whole lot of contest there.
Yeah,
Kaufman held up a little bit more.
Kaufman started from the pits, and then he came back in for about another minute of a pit stop, and he kind of came out in a really awkward position behind Peters, but ahead of Levi McCarty, and that has really hurt that 24 car because he's already dropped 5.5 seconds back at TJ Peters.
Kaufman is back on the track. A little bit of a spin there out of turn number 7, trying to stay out of the way of the 24. Went to the inside of the track, onto the grass there momentarily, got back up onto the racing surface. No harm, no foul. That's a battle back here for that 8th place position. Jake Ham all over the back bumper, gets the 22 a little bit loose coming up turn number 5. McCarthy stuck on the inside now here for a corner that he needs all of the room to navigate. We'll see how he handles it. And perfectly fine, able to lift, but he does lose that 8th position to the 87 of Jake Ham.
We mentioned him being fast in practice. No other driver in the field has managed to pick up more than 2 spots. Jake Ham already +7 from where he started in this race. Gone from 15th to 8th. Next closest driver is kind of a tie between McCarthy, who's gone 11 to 9, and then Duke and Feltz, both towards the back, who have gone +2.
So it's going to be a race of attrition here tonight. No competition caution for our 50 laps here. We should see 1 or 2 possibly pit stops on the night. 1 for sure on a fuel strategy, and 2 potentially on tires if needed. Right now, word from the practice session is about a 30 to 35 lap run on the fuel load. Got 4 tire sets over the wall at 35 mile-an-hour pit road speed. And a little bit of action further back on the screen there. Car dipping the right sides off into the grass out of turn 7, but Craig Bontrager has a battle right behind. That's the 87 of Ham and the 9 of Barrett Morton. Ham able to get around, still charging through this field, now has the 49 in sight.
He makes it look so easy, and even as he's navigating through this traffic right now, Jake Ham is the 2nd fastest car in the field. Timothy Peters ran a 52.9, Jake Ham a 53.3. That seems like a big gap, and it is, but it's even further back to the next driver, which is Mike Browning with almost a 53.5.
It's a good battle right here between the 24, the 07, and the 42. 3 top contending drivers week after week on the ovals, at least, finding themselves battling for 2nd place, and seemingly the 46 getting away with a massive lead already at 7.5 seconds. We're not even 10 laps into this race.
And it's being even made more apparent because Timothy Peters, I don't think he's going quite as hard as he was at the start of this race. He knows he needs to save his tires for the end of this run, so he's driving it a little easier than he has been. 53.3, Second fastest last lap. Jake Ham was the fastest car on the track last time around, but that's the difference between Ham, who is willing to push his tires to try to gain spots, and Peters, who has a 7-second lead and is totally fine to just vibe out there 8 seconds in front of everybody else.
46 has the fastest lap on track right now. One of 2 drivers only in the 52-second bracket. The other driver being the 87 Jake Ham, who has had to drive through, 7-8 cars already, starting from 15th, able to put down a 52.803. On board now, the InVets in-car cameras. Craig Bontrager right in front, gets a little bit loose out of turn number 2. Loses a little bit of ground there. The 87 of Ham has to check up not to get into the back bumper and send the 49 around. But he's going to be looking here for any opportunity to get by. Keep an eye on the 49 coming up over the crest of this hill. There's that wiggle I was telling you about. That front right tire does catch air coming over that hilltop.
It can be so hard to make passes here. I think turn 1 is going to be Jake Ham's best opportunity. Ooh, maybe a little closer than he'd like to get right there. Ideally, he wants to get a good run exiting the corner so that he can pull it alongside that 49 car and get the dive down into 1. He didn't get a good exit there because he ended up stuck on the back of the 49. That's going to hurt him. He'll move to the outside here, looking to get some sort of speed to get himself around Craig Bontrager, but at this part of the track, it can be really difficult to make a move unless the car in front of you makes a mistake.
Now this sequence of turns 1 through 5, there are some passing opportunities, but what the 87 needs to do right now is try to gain momentum coming down that downhill section into turn number 7, keep the speed through turn 7, and overtake on that front straightaway into turn number 1 with some late braking. See if he can complete it here. He's far enough back. Can he get a good drive off? A little bit of a wiggle is going to inhibit the 87 now from catching up and being able to make that move. But up front, Patrick Dravick goes for it. This is for second place, overtaking Levi McCarty in the 24. That exact move I was trying to describe for the 87.
Now we'll see if Dravick can get away at all. He was running pretty similar lap times to the 24, but now that he's clear of McCarty, will he be able to start cutting that gap down to the 46 of Timothy Peters, or is he going to kind of stay right in front of that line? That's what we're going to see as he heads around through the uphill right now. You're going to see these drivers really have to wheel it through here, really have to work the throttle to make sure the car doesn't go around on him. One of the trickier parts of the racetrack. Craig Bontrager, by the way, has had an issue. He's fallen back to 8th. Let's let Jake Ham through. He's up to 6th.
So Jake Ham continuing the charge with the extreme pace here. But Peters has a massive lead, not even 15 laps into this race. That's going to be a lot of ground there if Ham can get around the remaining 4 cars rather, ahead of him.
Ham
Peters
is going to...
loving this opportunity of clean air.
Oh, he is. Jake Ham is now trying to make a move around Browning. He will. Oh, near contact there. Mike Browning almost into the back of the 87 of Jake Ham, but he's clear into the top 5. What Jake Ham is really hoping for to get a chance at winning this race is some kind of big 4 or 5 car accident that results in a caution being thrown. Because I don't think anything else is going to get him back into this race. He needs a track blocker if he wants to have a chance at winning. But he does have a good chance at second, because while Dravick is pulling away from Levi McCarty in the 24, Jake Ham faster than these 2 cars in front of him, and he's got about 20 more laps in this run to try to get around him before the pit cycle.
We've got some more lap traffic into the picture as these lead group cars navigate their way through. The 87 has caught up to the 42 of Jeremy Gardner, challenging now for that top 4 spot. He's all over that rear view mirror, back and forth, left and right for the 87. It's only a matter of time before he takes his opportunity to finally attack.
Yeah, it's been so hard to pass for seemingly everybody except for Jake Ham. No one else, except for Michael Seymour, who started last and is still running on the lead lap, has even managed to gain more than 2 spots in this race. Jake Ham is up 10, and he's got a great run on Gardner here, looking down the straightaway. Well, not sure if he's going to be able to get it this time. Left to see what he does. He will lean to the inside, late on the brakes. Jake Ham through for P4. He's plus 11 in the first 14 laps.
Will the 42 attempt the switchback maneuver? But no, Ham closes that door with a great corner entry into turn number 2, followed up by a fantastic exit. He is now rolling smoothly through the rest of 3, 4, and 5 here, coming up to the uphill. The 42 had nothing for him. McCarty, he's fallen back now a little bit from Patrick Drabick just ahead, but he's still there with an opportunity if Drabick makes a mistake. Both drivers dipping the left side tires off into the grass out of turn number 6. A big wiggle for the 24 coming over the downhill crest. Look at Jake Ham, though. He is closing that gap fast.
That big wiggle down through the downhill can hurt you more than it looks because it's such a quick switchback from where he got loose into that right-hander. You got to take it a little slow to make sure you don't accidentally shift the weight around too much and send it sideways. Did a good job of keeping it straight, but definitely lost some speed there. Drabick's now 1.5 ahead of McCarty.
Mistakes will be plentiful out here tonight. It's all going to be about who can minimize those. That turn number 5, the uphill, is going to be the big focal point of those mistakes. It's a very dangerous transition there, especially following up with turn number 6. That inside curbing on the right side, a little bit higher up than you would expect it to be sometimes. Catch that turn 6 at the wrong angle. You're sending yourself sideways down the downhill portion of the track.
87's gaining time on Levi McCarty. That gap has really dropped. He's trying to get himself onto the podium here, 0.4 of a second back of that 24 car. And closing. 87, pretty clearly the second fastest car on track right now.
46 right now. He has been about a second faster than the rest of the field. That last time by with a 53.715. He had a couple drivers behind pretty well second through. Looks like 8th were all faster. So it looks like the 46 now in a tire / fuel saving mode. See if he can stretch this out as long as possible before he brings that 46 machine down pit road. Let the rest of this field battle it out behind.
He's not going to be pushing as hard as he needs to be when he's got a 9-second lead. It's a lot more advantageous for him to relax, take it easy, don't burn the tires up, don't burn the fuel up, and also make sure that you're not going to risk an accident of any kind. Just take it safe, don't make any mistakes, and you'll hold this 9-second lead as he's continued to do. Little loose over the hill there, but so is pretty much everybody. We're a third of the way through this race, and no one has had even the slightest threat for Timothy Peters out front.
The motto for the 46 right now, exactly like you see on that tailgate, keep digging. That's what it's going to take here tonight. He's doing a fantastic job already leading the first 17 laps of this race, starting from the pole position on the night. First time we've seen the 46 take the pole and lead this many laps so far this season.
Hey, he doesn't have a win yet. He would lock himself into the playoffs here if he did. And with 3 races left after this, it would put him in a really good spot heading in to that playoff season. Timothy Peters already one of the fastest drivers in the series. I think he'd likely be good on points, but it always helps to lock yourself in a little early. Make sure that you can spend those next 3 weeks preparing for the playoffs.
Not to mention the bonus points that come with the win into the playoffs. You can give yourself an advantage with a win here. Give yourself a couple extra bonus points for the playoff format. That could be very important whenever it comes down to the last couple of races for the championship. Lap number 19, not quite halfway through this race. Nearly a 10-second lead, but it's still a scramble behind as we're side by side once more. It's going to be the 87 of Jake Ham next to the 42 of Jeremy Gardner. The 9 of Barrett Morton inserts right here to the inside of the 42. Jeremy Gardner off track just a touch there, but he's going to keep that inside line here, which is very important for turn number 3. He'll get back in front of the 9 machine into turn 4. And it's a no-name straight There's a slight bend, but no corner counted before turn number 5.
Yeah, that was Mike Browning that got through into the top 5 up to 5th, Jeremy Gardner 6th. And then it's Barrett Morton 7th, Craig Bontrager back in it for 8th. These are the cars kind of in this battle right now. Barrett Morton was close to Gardner, but he's dropped off a little bit, and that's allowed Craig Bontrager to put a move up to the inside. Doesn't have the run, though. He'll pull back in down the straightaway. Now it's going to be Barrett Morton. He's got the run on Jeremy Gardner, going to send it in. Little lockup there, but they make it in all right. Gardner's going to clip the grass as Morton goes down on the inside, and we're side by side back down. Gardner will have the inside into 2.
Racing etiquette on full display here. Both of those drivers giving plenty of room to one another going into that tight technical section of the track. Both of them able to make it through with ease here, but Barrett Morton does lose some ground now to the 42 after that lockup. Couldn't quite, back into the grass coming over turn number 5. That's one of those dangerous situations as well. That momentum can carry you through on the left side of the track, and it's a very quick section there to get back onto the surface before you're into the grass.
Yeah, there's only really one real hard braking zone on this track, and that's turn 1. You'll get on the brakes in a couple other situations, but you're not going to have to slam them and slow all the way down like you have to do into that first corner. It's by far the slowest stretch of the racetrack, along with the S's. Once you get through those S's, you start heading down the straightaway into the uphill. That's when the track becomes kind of just a lot of lifting, a lot of coasting, and a lot of time on throttle. Oh, big move for Levi McCarty. Got way loose out of that corner. Barely managed to hold on to it. That is the danger of pushing too hard through that uphill, is you can do that and send it into the inside wall.
Implications at the front of this pack. TJ Peters nearly caught up in 2 separate incidences. The first one starting in turn 5 with Chuck Feltz. Lap traffic getting in the way just momentarily. Nothing doing there, but James Kaufman coming down this corner here. We'll start all the way back here at turn 5. Feltz in the black car right in front, just a touch slower here than Peters was expecting. Gets into the back bumper, sends Feltz a little bit wide into the uphill. No harm there, however, but coming down, there's James Kaufman in the 25 just ahead. He'll get sideways coming down the downhill section, nearly collecting the 46 with just a fraction of a second to react here. You see the car in the grass, back onto the racing surface, nearly in the racing line. Peters, fantastic avoidance in both of those situations. 3 wide, however, coming down the front stretch. McCarty on the right. Oh, man, a big send to the inside for the 87 there. He was able to make it stick.
He was. Jake Ham up onto the podium now around the 24 of Levi McCarty. He's started to slow down a little bit here as those tires have worn. We know how hard he was pushing them in the opening laps of the stint to get around 12 different cars. But he's done pretty good right now. He's got it up to 3rd. The gap to Drabick is a bit more than he wants, and now he's going to have to navigate the lap car. Chuck Feltz, no issues there. He might just wait to the pit cycle, get fresh rubber on it, and then from there be able to attack the 07 of Drabick.
Jake Ham started at the back of this pack in 15th. Now all the way up to that 3rd place position. Still 11 seconds behind our leader. A lot of ground to make up, but a fresh set of Goodyear tires might make the difference for that team. Patrick Drabick to the inside here around the 78. That's going to be David Duke 9 laps down with some connection issues early on in this race. Back on the track surface, turning laps to collect as many points as possible. Drabick now having to overtake the 37 of Seymour. Also lap traffic there. The 87 of Jake Ham now on your screen. He'll have the same 2 cars to get around. We'll see how he manages to get by this lap traffic this time by.
And all these points can be really valuable in this race because there's less cars out there. A 15th place finish tonight is a lot easier than a 15th place finish is when you've got 30 cars in the field. So this would really help some of these guys back here who are struggling in the points to get some extra ones and move up. Chuck Feltz hasn't had great finishes so far this year. 15th will really help. Levi McCarty is going to split the race exactly in two. He's the first car in the pits on lap 25.
Keep an eye on the 24 machine, see what kind of strategy we're going to see from Levi McCarty. Is it going to be 4 tires? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be fuel only? Time so far in the box, 10 seconds, so it looks like a 4 tire and full fuel pit stop. Maybe a little bit of damage. 16.4 in the box, back rolling out onto the track now. 35 seconds start to finish in pit road.
Interesting. It was a little longer, so maybe he did have a couple seconds of damage he wanted to get rid of there. Gonna maybe hurt him a little bit. Not on the undercut, but on the fact that it was a longer pit stop. This is a pass for 4th. 42 of Jeremy Gardner back around Mike Browning, and it's because Mike Browning is going to immediately pull it into the pits. Barrett Morton in the 9 will follow him in. Pit stops beginning now. These cars having to come down earlier than you might expect because they have a fuel limit of 60%. So they're only using 60% of the fuel of the real cars, and that's making for some earlier pit stops. You see more cars coming down in the background, joining Barrett Morton in pit road. That's James Kaufman, Michael McCarthy, James Goshen all in as well.
So we're going to see a mixture of strategies out here. So it looks like the 46 of Peters still turning laps on the original set of tires. They'll go at least one more time around with a commanding lead back up to that 10-second mark. It looks like the 07 of Patrick Drabick now bringing it down pit road. Possibly the 87 of J Cam. Yes, the 87 of Ham follows.
I think Peters can afford to do the overcut here because he has such a big lead. He doesn't have to worry about anyone jumping him because he's 8 seconds clear. He can run about 3 laps longer, still come out of this in the lead because he has such a big gap. And then he'll just cruise for the rest of the race on 3-lap better tires than everybody else and a lead.
Just over the halfway point of this race. It's a perfect time to give one of our sponsors here a shout out tonight. We're going to start with Lincoln Tech. Lincoln's mission is to provide superior education and training to our students for in-demand careers in a supportive, accessible learning environment, transforming students' lives and adding value to their communities. They're one of the largest automotive technology schools in the nation with 23 campuses. They are the title sponsor of the Spring Series and a very large partner of Goat Locker Racing. See this 27 here. Apologize, the 46 of Peters finally into pit road. Takes left sides, takes right sides. It'll be a full 4-tire stop with fuel for the 46. And back rolling on the track. He has fallen back to the 3rd place position with Jeremy Gardner, Jake Ellingson have not brought it down pit road. 46 will eventually assume the lead once more, but only 2 seconds ahead of Jamie Barkus in the 15, about 6 or 7 seconds ahead of the 07 of Drabick.
Yeah, Gardner, Ellingson, and Barkus, 3 cars that have not pit yet. The other 2 still waiting to come in are Michael Seymour back in 12th, Chuck Feltz back in 15th, all still have not made that turn down pit road, but we think they'll do it soon. We know they can only go about 30-35 laps on fuel, and there comes our first one. Jeremy Gardner will move it down into the pits this time. Jake Ellingson is going to come out of 7. He'll bring it into the pits as well. So the top 2 are both down, and that will cycle Timothy Peters back to front.
Peters back into turn number 1 here. Still with the advantage of about 7 seconds over what will eventually be 2nd place again when the 15 of Barkus brings it down pit road. Doing a good job letting these tires come into temperature. And it's going to be hopefully a clear track for a little while for the 46 team. On board the InVets in-car camera once again with TJ Peters' driver cam. You can see the laser focus as he enters turn 6 to the downhill portion into turn number 7 back to the straightaway.
I don't think he's blinked since we put on this camera. I've been counting the seconds here, and I have not seen him blink once the entire time. I think we're at about 18 or 19 now. He is locked in on iRacing, trying to stretch this lead out. It's 7.6 over Patrick Drabick and climbing. And with 20 laps to go, he is clear into the lead. He still hasn't blinked.
Nothing wrong with being focused. That's how you win races. He's doing a fantastic job of putting a great run together. Still right around that 1 second faster than the rest of the field. A little bit less, about 7/10 faster. But all that matters is putting distance between yourself and second place. Right now, the 4 of Browning is looking to catch back up here to Levi McCarty, currently sitting in a top 5 position. Got the 99 of Brandon Wallace just ahead. Wallace in 16th place, 9 laps down at the moment. McCarty to the inside. Browning will follow. Not the place you want to be coming into turn number 7. Very shallow entry for the 4 machine, but he's able to hug that inside line. Doesn't lose a whole lot of ground now to the 24.
New fastest lap of the race. 46 to Timothy Peters with a 52.398. 0.2 faster than the next fastest lap, which was Jake Ham the last time around with a 52.57. That 46 car looking set to continue extending his lead here with 19 to go.
Cardi can't quite seem to get away from being under fire from the 4 machine. Barrett Morton right behind Browning as well. Big wiggle coming over the hilltop there for the 24. You can really see that rear end step out to the left coming over that crest.
Yeah, you wouldn't really think it because it's not a very, I guess, hard braking zone, but that's one of the more treacherous corners on the racetrack, and it's because of the weight distribution of these trucks. Happens in a lot of heavier cars. These trucks are no exception. Can be really easy to blast it over that hill, upset the car, and just have it dart straight right for the inside wall. These drivers have done a good job of avoiding that this race, and they've done a good job of keeping that car steady over the hill. Had a couple moments, but I don't think we've seen anyone go careening into that inside wall yet, like you sometimes see when you put a GT3 around here.
So just moments ago, the 4 of Browning tried to send it to the inside of McCarty in turn number 1. McCarty slamming that door closed. Really forced Browning to get a little bit harder on the brakes, nearly missing turn number 1, but was able to get it slowed down enough to make a good entry into turn number 2. Closed some of that gap back up, but did lose a little bit of time. Now back all over the back bumper of McCarty as they're navigating another one 3 wide into turn number 1 nearly. It's a 68 on the outside. Steve McDonald out of the way for all 4 of these drivers. McCarty, Browning, Craig Bontrager, Barrett Morton, the 42 of Jeremy Gardner behind as well. Needs one more car to get around. It's almost looking like a conga line here, Sky.
I was going to say, we're not far from having 10 or fewer cars on the lead lap. We've only got 11 right now. Jamie Barkas is about 10 seconds away from going a lap down. I think he'll probably be lapped by the end of this race. Maybe even Michael McCarty too, or Michael McCarthy too, depending on how much Timothy Peters really wants to push the issue with that 7-second lead. He might be able to lap about, I'd say, all but 9 cars by the time this is over. Granted, Peters is going a little slower right now. Drabick has been able to cut into his lead as the 46 car runs very safe, conservative laps, just trying to manage that gap. But even still, he's faster than Barkas, and I wouldn't be surprised to see those 2 cars get lapped by the end of this thing.
Peters is on pace to do so, leaving potentially only 9 cars on the lead lap. See just how hard he pushes, but ultimately he has to keep an eye on the gap to second place, which has closed now. It's just 7.5 seconds, where we saw it before that pit cycle, right around that 10-second mark. The fresh tires helping the 07 and the 87, but not enough to get back into contention for the lead just yet. On board once more with the Browning number 4 machine. There's the big send to the inside. Is it going to work this time? McCarty looks for the over-under maneuver, but Browning hugs the inside, doesn't give the 24 the opportunity, and he's going to drive away on corner exit of turn 2. Now Craig Bontrager is threatening to contact between the 24. Now the 9's involved. The 24, the 49 off track. Barrett Morton was able to keep it on track. Levi McCarty losing a lot of ground now, back to 8th place.
Wow, they just got a little too close. We'll see it on the V-Speed replay here. This is a really tight corner, especially when you're going too wide like Bontrager and McCarty were right there. McCarty was a bit slow. He got caught out. Bontrager tried to take advantage, run him on the outside, and the 24 just got loose coming out into the side of the 49. The 9 of Barrett Morton taking a hit too as well.
Shouldn't be too much damage on the 49 machine. I would say that 9 taking the worst of it with that hit directly to the front left. Could cause some suspension issues. Looks like he's handling it just well so far. Not a whole lot of body damage there on the 9. A lot less than I would have expected. Seems to be handling okay for now.
Yeah, the front left is a little punched in, but I definitely would have expected more damage there with the kind of hit he took.
Back up towards the front, it's Drabick and Ham still battling for second place. Ham being very choosy of his opportunities. Here's the send to the inside, nearly contact with the right rear of the 07. Luckily, nothing happened there. Wow, that was close.
He's got 13 laps to make this move here, but I think if he wants to make an attempt at Peters, he's going to want to make this move as soon as possible, and he's right on the bumper. We'll see if he tries it into the uphill. I haven't seen anyone do that all race, and Jake Ham will continue to refrain. I think his best bet is going to be to drop a little bit back on Drabick, set up the move in the downhill, make sure you get enough speed to where you're able to pull away down the straightaway, and you've got it into 1. Might have it this time. No, he's a little loose out of the corner, and Drabick looks like he'll survive down into 1.
I really thought that Ham was going to be able to use the opportunity of some lap traffic to slow up the 07. James Goshen doing a great job of getting out of the way immediately on turn 7. Drabick able to put some distance now between second and third, feeling a little bit better. He can focus on hitting the corner apexes like he should before he has to start defending against Jake Ham once more. Ham, the only driver on the season with 3 wins, the only driver in 2 seasons with 3 wins. Doesn't look like a 4th will be quite doable tonight. He's got 9 seconds before he even has a chance.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the run there out of that corner either. Good run for Drabick will negate it. While these two are going at it, we want to tell you about another one of our partners here at Goat Locker Racing. That would be the title sponsor of this series, SAVE22. SAVE22 is a 501c3 organization dedicated to preventing suicide among veterans, active duty personnel, and first responders. Their unwavering mission extends to 4 critical pillars: shield, assist, volunteer, and educate, or SAVE. They're the title sponsor of the series starting this week for the rest of the season, and we thank them for everything they do, not just for Goat Locker Racing, but for veterans as well.
Jake Ham still looking for some ground, and a big time loose here for the 87 out of turn 6. That's going to really hinder his ability now. Those tires getting a little bit slippery now.
Yeah, and he's been pushing hard trying to close this gap to the 07, so he's definitely going to be feeling the effects of overheating his tires with all the big lunges that he's done, especially down into turn 1. He might just need to take a couple laps. Yeah, he's in the grass again there, and just cool those tires off, wait for them to cool down, and then try to re-rack and get back up to the 07 to Drabick. The 42 was right on the bumper of Browning there, but had a problem going into the corner, went way wide, and that'll give him a 1.5 second gap back to that 4 car, who's looking pretty clear up there in 4th.
Jeremy Gardner trying to send it in on turn 1 to contest for that 4th place spot. A little bit later on the brakes, I would assume, than he expected. Overdrove turn 1, subsequently affected that turn 2 entry. But now he's back on that racing line that he's been on all night.
Jeremy Gardner, you see that 1 lap lead, that was on some pitch strategy. A little while ago, he stayed out while everybody else came in, got a lap of lead, and that is why you see that right there. every race or every lap led except for the ones that were done in the pits have been led by Timothy Peters, who got 7 seconds right now over traffic. He was up over, I think, 10 seconds at one point in this race. He's been managing the gap. Oh, big loose there. I believe that's Gardner in the 42. He's struggling on those worn tires, unlike Timothy Peters, who is 7 seconds clear in the lead and pulling away with this race.
Gardner, however, Season 8 champion. He knows how to handle this truck, and we saw a great recovery there for the 42. Looking back up towards the front of everything here, it's the 46 of Peters. He's in the mixture of some lap traffic right now, has clean air on the nose. That's going to be, I believe, the 15 of Jamie Barkus just ahead. And he's ever so close to the 22 of Michael McCarthy. We might only see 8 or even 7 cars on the lead lap by the end of this if Peters continues this pace that he's on.
Peters is dicing through the field here. He's almost got Barkus. He's almost got McCarthy. About 4 seconds back, and he's got about, going to be 8 laps to do it at the line. I think he's got a great shot at clearing at least 2 of those cars. Ellingson and McCarty a little bit up the road after that incident there for the 24 set him back. Very well could have 8 cars on the lead lap there with that incident for Bontrager, putting them 1 down.
So we saw just last lap, it was at 7 seconds. Now it's crested the 8-second mark, holding right around 8 seconds for Peters to Drabick. Really all he has to do is just focus on turning clean laps, as we've got trouble just ahead. That is the 15 of Barkus now, who's at threat of going a lap down, leaving only 9 on the lead lap. See how he handles having the pressure of the 46 right behind, way off track here. Hopefully not into the wall. He keeps it off, and the 46 gets by cleanly.
I'll tell you what, if I am Timothy Peters and I'm dealing with lap traffic 7 seconds clear with 7 laps to go, the absolute last thing I want to see out of my windshield is one of those lap cars going flying into the grass, because you never know what's going to happen at that point. It can be so easy for someone else's mistake to ruin your race when you're 8 seconds clear. Got lucky there. Barkus was able to stay off the racetrack and Peters was able to get through, but that is such a scary thing to have happen.
You could see it perfectly on that turn 1 camera. Peters was entering turn 1 while Drabick and Ham were exiting turn 7 at the other end of the Sam Posey straight. That is a big time gap now, almost up to the 9-second mark from first to second, with Drabick and Ham also having to get around the 15 of Barkus now. It's going to be a challenge if they want to do anything to collect another position up here, but Ham right now needs to focus on taking away that second place spot.
And as we head to 6 to go, I want to tell you about another one of our partners here in the SAVE22 Truck Series. That would be Jam Printing and Promotions, the sponsors of our Pole Award as well. Since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They've been with Goat Locker Racing since the very beginning. They're local and veteran certified, and when they do well, they do good in the community. You see them on Patrick Drabick's 07 car right there, running second, getting a pretty good result for Jam Printing and Promotions. And if you've ever seen those Goat Locker Racing hoodies floating around on some of our drivers here on the in-car cameras, that's Jam Printing and Promotions right there as well.
Not only drivers, but broadcasters as well. And I have to say, this is one of the most comfortable hoodies that I have in my wardrobe. So big shout out to Jam Printing and Promotions for getting Goat Locker hooked up with these. I'm contemplating picking up another one just to throw into the rotation. That's how comfortable they are.
Hey, I might have to get one next time they come around. Jake Ham is trying to come around to the back bumper of Patrick Drabick. He's gotten that gap back down to about 0.8 of a second from the 1.5 it was after he cooked his tires and sent it off the racetrack. Done exactly what he needed to. Let those tires cool down. He's re-racked it, got it back focused, and now 5 laps to go. Looks like he might be able to get Drabick for second.
He's got 5 laps to do it. This time by will only leave us with 4. The window of opportunity closing every single lap for the 87 team. It's now or never as Patrick Drabick is getting up to the back bumper. Some more lap traffic there. A last-second decision to get around to the inside, not knowing if he was going to hold the racing line or get out of the way, is going to allow Jake Ham to close the gap even more, now down to 0.5 of a second. Man, it looks even closer than that. Off of the rear of the 07, Patrick Drabick a little bit wide into turn number 2. But it's working out. The momentum in the 07's favor right now.
And you can see how those big dives are closing the gap. They're also showing that Ham is pushing, because those big dives are going to warm his tires up a little bit. But he's willing to go for it with 4 to go. Last time around, it was a 53.685 for Drabick. It was a 53.325 for Jake Ham. 3.5 tenths quicker on with 5 to go. We're going to see what the gap is when they come around and take 3 to go right here. Jake Ham, another 10th quicker that time, and he is really sending it down into those corners.
Seems like the 46 of Peters, he's been held up by a little bit of lap traffic, or he's playing it ultra safe. It does look like lap traffic was the factor here. Jake Ellingson now behind. That leaves 7 cars on the lead lap with the 24, who was challenging for the lead up here in the top 3 for a good portion of the first half of this race. He is now at threat of going down 1 lap as well.
That would put only 6 cars on the lead lap in this race. Those 6 being Timothy Peters, Patrick Drabick, Jake Ham, Mike Browning, Jeremy Gardner, and Barrett Morton. Levi McCarty's barely holding on to that last spot on the lead lap. 2 to go for Timothy Peters. Man, what a run he's had. The gap is dropping from Drabick to Peters, but that's just because Peters is 5.5 seconds gone with 2 to go. He doesn't really need to be pushing anymore.
Not to mention all of the traffic between Peters and Drabick right now. It's not going to help the 07 or the 87 catch back up whatsoever. The 24 of McCarty right ahead now. Peters will likely get to the back bumper into turn number 7. Take a look to get around the 24 here, coming across the straight or into turn 1.
He's going to come through this final corner here. He'll get the inside on the 24, Levi McCarty, and he'll be clear at the line. White flag for Timothy Peters with a 5.4 second lead at Lime Rock. He's lapped 2/3 of the field, and he's not done yet because he's got 1 more lap to bring it home. Drabick second, Ham in third. Neither really seem to have a shot at him. It's going to be Timothy Peters well clear heading down the back straight.
48 laps led out of 50. Peters looking to make it 49 for the most important one into turn number 5 in the uphill. Can he keep it straight coming across the crest? He does. 2 more corners to go. Turn 6 right here. And a good entry and exit down the downhill into turn 7. And then it's the checkered flag in the air. He has victory in sight. There's the smile, and the celebration starts as Timothy Peters takes his first win on the season with 49 laps led at Lime Rock Park.
Locked into the playoffs. I don't think he could have driven that any better if he had a second try at it. 49 out of 50 laps. The other one was only on pit strategy. He drove a perfect race here tonight, and he's going to get a deserved checkered flag to go with it.
Little congratulatory bump from the 24 of McCarty. Surely not expecting to see Timothy Peters come around there on the last 2 laps. A good contest there early on for the 24. Here's the 07 around the inside. The 46, a well-deserved win in a completely dominating fashion on this road course. The only one that we will see, and it's the only one that the 46 needed to lock himself into the playoffs with only 3 races to go, Sky.
This is going to be huge for him because it will get him some bonus points going into the playoffs as well, and that'll really help him down the stretch. Great win for him. Dominating win. I bet he's hoping that next season in the Goat Locker Truck Series, they run a little bit more than only 1 road course, because if he can get 2 or 3 on the schedule, man, he's going to be a threat.
The first time the 46 gets to celebrate. Well, let's grade his burnout abilities here, Sky. What do you think about that?
I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, you might as well, especially for the first win. As he's burning it down here, backwards on the Samposi straight. We'll take it to a quick commercial break, then we'll follow up with our post-race show and interviews with our top 3 finishers. Stick around, we'll be right back.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
And we're back here for our post-race coverage of our Lime Rock race here for week number 7. But first, take a quick opportunity to give a shout out to our Warrior Spotlight for the month of March, John Hochin. Served in the U.S. Army from 2010 to 2021. John grew up in Indy, and some of the best memories were days spent at the track with his dad watching legends from NASCAR, IndyCar, MotoGP, and Formula One turning fast laps at Indianapolis. A love for competition and adventure would later steer John into the Army, where he was fortunate enough to serve alongside the men of the 10th Special Forces Group across the continents of Africa and Asia. Following combat-related injuries, John would later serve at Special Warfare Training Group as a senior instructor for the SERE Level C. Medically retiring in 2021, John made his way home to Indiana, where he returned to school and ultimately found work again at Crane Naval Surface Warfare Center. So big shout out to John here. We'll talk about him a little bit more as we get through our races here in the month of March, but we've got some post-race coverage to go through. Obviously 0 cautions on the night and only the 2 lead changes on that pit strategy that we saw. Timothy Peters taking home his first win of the season in a fantastic form, dominating this race with 49 laps led. Patrick Drabick was able to fend off the 87 of Jake Ham, finishing in 3rd. Mike Browning will take home the 4th spot on the night, followed up by Season 8 champion, the 42 of Jeremy Gardner. Barrett Morton was able to collect it back up to a 6th place finish here, with Levi McCarty in tow in 7th after his bobble. And man, McCarty put up a fight up there in the top 3 for so long, falling back to 7th. Jacob Ellingson with an 8th place finish here tonight, with the 22 of Michael McCarthy in 9th. Last but not least in our top 10, it's the 15 of Jamie Barkas.
And rounding out your field tonight, P11, 1 lap down because we only had 6 on the lead lap, is James Goshen. Craig Bontrager was up front, but an accident puts him back to 12th. Stephen McDonald, 13th tonight in the 68. Michael Seymour, 14th in the 37. Chuck Phelps finishes 15th in the 75. Then a couple cars out of the race early. James Coffin, 16th in the 25. Brandon Wallace, 17th in the 99. David Duke in the 78. 18th. George Jewell out right at the start. 19th in the 36.
That'll lead us right into our post-race interviews, who I've got standing by our race winner on the night, TJ Peters.
Yes, sir. What's going on, guys?
TJ, it was a hard-fought win for your first one on the season. Well, a hard-fought season for your first win. How about that? You dominated this race with 49 laps led and gaps up to 10 seconds here to second place. It was a fantastic showing from you on the 46 crew. Give me a quick walkthrough of what your kind of preparation was for this race here tonight.
Man, honestly, it was kind of slim to none. I mean, I ran some practice Thursday, trying to figure out what the fast lap times were, and I think we did like a 41.8 and a 41.9, and, talking to Cody on top of the box, my crew chief, I'm like, hey, do you know if that's like, a fast time for the lobby? And he's like, honestly, I'm not quite sure. So I was like, all right, I'll go do some more laps. And then as soon as practice opens up, like, let's hit it hard, see what everybody's doing. And we went to P1. And then Jake came in. He ended up going P1. He was like a tenth faster than me. So I told Cody, I was like, hey, we got to figure out what he is doing, where he's better, where I'm worse, all that other stuff. And we had seen he was shifting differently and using the gears in different areas that I wasn't. And I just couldn't run how he was running. So I just stuck to my normal line. And thankfully we got, pole for qualifying. And then Cody was like, hey, if we got to kind of make it lights out, to control the pit strategy and fuel and tires. And like I said, man, we were gone, and I was like, all right, we just need to hang out. And it was, we had some times 10, 11, 12 seconds. And I'm like, wow, this is what we got to do, like right here. We got to make our pit stops on point. We got to make fueling on point. Like, it's got to be no mistakes. So that's kind of what we did.
Speaking of mistakes, you being virtually mistake-free, you got tied up a couple times there. You had some lap traffic get in the way. You had a lap car get sideways in front of you. How on edge were you in those last couple of laps, being mixed up with that lap traffic, knowing that you had such a commanding lead coming to that checkered flag, but you're still kind of in the mix of things?
Yeah, it was definitely a little scary because, I got into Chuck Pegleg, and he just broke really earlier than I normally have in my braking zone. So I kind of locked it up and got into him a little bit and apologized. And then, it was really Cody on top of the box, man. Like, I'm coming over to the top of the hill. He's like, hey, let you know there's somebody on your left, like, stopped. Like, just keep going, but be cautious when you're coming up the hill. So if I didn't have him as a spotter going up that hill, it was virtually, invisible for what I was coming into. So it was definitely pretty scary because I'd get slowed down a lot and my gap would go from 10 seconds to 7. And I'm like, oh, dude, we got to pick it back up. And Cody's like, dude, relax. You got 7 seconds, hit your marks, bring it back. And that's when we finished the race with maybe 10 seconds, a little less than 10 seconds. So, yeah.
Well, it's taken you 7 weeks to get this first win here tonight. You were coming into this race with a great points advantage well above the cut line, but just run me down, how important was this win to lock yourself into the playoffs with just 3 races to go?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was, stressing the past couple weeks, past 2-3 weeks. I'm like, dude, like, we run good. Like, we just need something to go our way. Our pit strategies are good. We can maybe change them, like do 2-3 laps earlier if we have to. And Vegas was a really good one for me. I thought I definitely would have won Vegas. If I had some more laps, maybe I would have. A lot of the circle tracks are my strong suit, so coming into a road course, I'm like, man, we can go out there and try our best and, hit our marks. Don't, wheel hop the rear end and just make sure we hit our marks. And it was just kind of from the get-go, I was just like, man, this really has to go our way. I really got to, head down, eyes forward, and just go.
Tried your best, hit your marks, you did. We saw the laser focus a couple times with the driver cam, but TJ, congratulations on your first win this season. Who do you have to thank for tonight?
Number one, first of all, Cody Anderson, crew chief, spotter. I mean, does a fantastic job, like week in, week out. He helps me with so much, whether it's I'm at work at Gibbs and he's texting me, he's like, hey, did you practice yet? What are your times? Like, he's always pressuring me to get in the sim to make sure we have, as much data for the next race as we have. Shout out to Mom, Dad, my brother. They always watch. Definitely Speakeasy, Pen Emporium, Ackerman Seal Coating, Joe Gibbs Racing, SAVE22. Everybody at GLR, Patrick Drabick, Jamie. They put on a great show every week. The tracks are amazing, and everybody races clean. They give you room. So, I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great league. So, thank you to everybody.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations tonight. Go celebrate with your team, TJ, and we'll see you next week at Darlington.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
First place finisher on the night again, 49 laps led in dominating fashion, but Sky Shrek standing by now with our second place finisher, Patrick Drabick.
Hey, Patrick,
What's
you got a
up?
copy?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you do. All right. Second place tonight at our only road course of the season. Is it difficult when you're switching from that oval mentality to having to turn right and go up hills?
Yeah, Lime Rock presented its challenges tonight for sure. And I don't know that a lot of guys knew that, this year, for the first time ever, the trucks are actually going to Lime Rock Park. And that's the reason we put it on the schedule. I've driven a couple different cars here. I've definitely driven Miatas and things like that. I've driven the Arca car here. So I was kind of used to it. I was used to that truck getting light going over the hill. I had a blast. I thought it was a whole hell of a lot of fun. So, to come here to Lime Rock and park it in second place, man, I feel pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, second place. I know Timothy Peters was clearly impressive tonight, but do you think there was anything you could have done to get yourself closer to the win?
No, I mean, he was lights out. If I could have stayed closer to him in the beginning, it kind of got held up there a little bit as everybody's kind of sorting themselves out. After I got around Levi McCarty, I could kind of keep pace with him a little bit, match lap times, but no, I don't think I had anything for him whatsoever. It'd been nice to be a little bit closer. But no, congratulations to him, man. He put on a clinic tonight.
Since we're road racing tonight, I want to know, what's another road course that you think would be really fun in these trucks?
Man, I mean, it's, are you saying like not typical NASCAR? And so not Watkins Glen or Sonoma?
Whatever you think would be a good time for you to drive in these.
Man, let's take him to the Nuremberg ring. Let's just get after it.
That would definitely be a race. I think you'd have to run like 3 laps or something.
Right. 3 whole laps and we're done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, these trucks, I mean, obviously, no real cup, except for the cup car is designed for road racing. So the body roll in these things and trying to keep it, somewhat underneath you as the whole thing is rolling on you going through these corners is crazy. But it presents a new challenge. It presents something different besides going around the ovals. And had a ton of fun here tonight.
All right. Anyone you'd like to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah, well, of course, Jam Printing and Promotions. They're on the side of the truck, on this side of the old creamsicle. And I'm always so happy to park the 07 Chevy Silverado in Victory Lane. Well, not in Victory Lane, in second place for them. And, and then, of course, SAVE22 came on this week, and I couldn't be more proud of that. To have them as the title sponsor here in the Truck Series means a lot to me personally. It means a lot for the organization. So thank you to John Moser and everybody over there at SAVE22. We typically don't switch things out mid-season, but this was the right thing to do. So I am so crazy excited about that. Then you guys up at V-Speed. Well, you everybody except for Logan. You guys do amazing work. Love chatting with you, love hanging out with you, except for Logan. So you guys keep up the awesome work at V-Speed. You put on such a phenomenal show, except for Logan. So I appreciate everything you do. And of course, Alexander PCs. They've been building a lot of computers for us. They built my sim computer. They built the one for the mobile sim, and every veteran that gets a computer comes from Alexander PCs. So again, man, congratulations to Tim. He was lights out tonight. But I'm happy to come home tonight with a second place finish.
All right, well, we're holding Logan back in the booth right now, so I'll let you go. Enjoy second tonight, Patrick Drabick.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right. After Drabick finishing third tonight, we're going to bring Jake Ham into the booth and Logan standing by with him.
Yeah, I feel bad for that Logan guy. I don't know who that might be, but we've got Jake Ham here, third place finish with an ultimate drive through the entire field. Started back in 15th position. Jake, tell me what it was like to have to navigate 12 cars to get up here to a podium finish tonight.
It was spicy. I mean, it was a spicy ham sandwich, man. It was a tough ride to get through there. People were sliding all over the place and a little bit slower than what I'm used to. And so I feel like that gave Timothy a good lead on everybody and just couldn't get to him.
Well, a spicy ham sandwich indeed. You ended up setting one of the fastest laps while you were navigating all of that traffic. Jake, what happened in the qualifying effort that set you so far back in the field?
I think I was a little overcommitted. Turn one, out lap in the grass. Turn one, lap one in the grass. Come around them and be like, I'm gonna take it a little easier. Nope, right back in the grass. Turn one. And so very disappointing. I feel like I would have had an opportunity for another win had I been at the, the front of the pack and not been held up a little bit. But honestly, I give the opportunity a little bit more to a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more fun to drive through everybody, even though it's a challenge. And it's something different to experience this track. I learned that in real life they're racing these trucks, so I'm looking forward to watching this on the TV. When they come, but I never want to race it again in this truck.
That seems to be a consensus amongst some of the drivers here tonight, but ultimately you still handled it very, very well. And you do have to think if the roles were reversed and you're up here in the top 5 to start this race, even watching you in practice, you certainly had the pace to challenge the 46 of Peters. Is that all you really think that you needed to flip the script of this race for the 87 car?
Yeah, my whole goal going into it with qualifying was I knew Timothy was probably going to get pole, and so I probably just would have followed him the entire race, even if I had the pace, and just let him make a mistake potentially. I feel like there at the end of the race, his tires fell off, pretty good. Maybe he was blowing up just because he had so much of a lead, but I feel like I would have had a really good game plan going into it, and if I just had, maybe like 10 laps less cars in front of me, I might have had that chance.
Well, you still managed to set the fastest lap of the race with a 52.338, 5/100ths of a second over the race winner. Jake Ham, congratulations on third place tonight, driving through the entire field. Who do you have to say thanks to tonight?
Yeah, obviously I want to thank iRacing, for allowing us to host these leagues. It's much appreciated. Above the yellow line, Sim Motion, and then obviously our title sponsor, SAVE22, for everything that they do. V Speed for hosting this. I love to go back and watch it. It's such a hoot, makes it feel like it's real life. And then obviously Mike Browning for the awesome paint scheme. And then anybody that wants to donate for Mr. Bennett and everything that he's going through. That's why we drive the paint schemes that we are. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Jake. We'll see you next week at Darlington. Until then, have a great night, buddy.
You too, man. I'm going to win next week.
Sounds like a plan. We'll hold you to it. Third place finisher Jake Ham again with a solid drive from the back of the pack all the way up to the front. And if you want to take a look at the Craftsman Truck Series real life race, they'll be taking those trucks to Lime Rock Park on June 28th. You can compare how these drivers handled it versus the real life drivers. But for now, if you enjoyed tonight's race, please drop a like and subscribe so you never miss another one. You can join us again here next week when we find ourselves in Darlington for race number 8. For Patrick Dravick, Jamie Barkas, and everybody else behind the scenes at Goat Locker Racing, for Adam Baker and Bradley Cooper at V-Speed, and of course our producer Eddie Smith tonight, and my colleague Sky Schreck up here in the booth. My name is Logan Threlkeld. Thank you for watching tonight's broadcast, and we'll see you next week at Darlington.